Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Tuesday. I told you I'm wearing this shirt all week. And now I've added a hat. Is this hat too small for my head, Butter?
It's a little top heavy on you.
It's a little, yeah.
It looks good though.
It really looks good. It goes with the shirt very well. It's Oklahoma State week. We're just 3 days away from the biggest game of the college football season. Oklahoma State at Colorado, the winless Big 12 team taking on a Big 12 title contender in the Buffaloes. But today, that's not what we're talking about. We're not going to be talking about the Buffs, but I do want you to know it's present in my mind. That's why I'm in orange. That's why I got my OSU hat on. I don't want anybody to think that I've taken my eyes off the prize. An upset that would shock the world for the Oklahoma State Cowboys to beat Colorado. But today, we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite topics, the fraudulence of Stephen A. Smith. And many of you think that, I pick on Stephen A. Smith and I just have it in for Stephen A. Smith. I'm just more honest than everybody else about Stephen A. Smith. And today I'm going to walk you through someone who's being a little dishonest or holding back his cards on Stephen A. Smith, thinks all the same things that I think about Stephen A. Smith, all the same things, but just has to conceal it because, he's in business with Stephen A. Smith. We'll talk about Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith quite a bit today. We'll talk about last night's Monday Night Football game. Derrick Henry, the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson beat the Los Angeles Chargers. The Harbaugh Bowl went to John Harbaugh. I thought the game was kind of marred by some officiating. But Le'Veon Bell and other people have made a great point about what's going on with Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and how running backs are being diminished when they shouldn't be, when they're super valuable, and their two most valuable players this year are Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. We'll talk a little bit, we'll react to Kurt Warner and his take on Patrick Mahomes and how well Patrick Mahomes is playing in his mind. Is the 49ers season over? We'll get into that. So a lot to unpack. Steve Kim will join me after I start this fire. Before I start this fire, the first thing and the best thing you guys can do for me is join the Fearless movement in a real way. Go to fearlessmission.com, become a Fearless subscriber, use the promo code FEARLESS40, and you save $40 on your yearly subscription. It gets you access to everything we do here at Fearless, and it gets you access to everything we do at The Blaze. I need you all to do this. This is very, very important. Right now, we are in the last 2-3 weeks, YouTube has put its thumb on the scale. YouTube has put its thumb on the scale. They're taking away our subscribers. They're hiding our content. This is real. You can look at it, watch for yourself how, they've just put the thumb on the scale and said, hey, no more growth. We're actually losing subscribers for no reason. And that's why I need you all to support Fearless Mission and Fearless in a real way because, hey, man, we can't dictate, we can't determine when YouTube's going to like us, when they're going to hate us, when they're going to put the thumb on the scale, when they're going to try to prevent our content from getting out there. We have to be prepared when YouTube finally says enough is enough, which I don't know, maybe they're saying it right now, but I need you guys to be Fearless subscribers. All right, let's get into today's show. I don't know if this hat, it's squeezing my head a little bit, and it does. Is it shading my eyes, or should I turn it around? If I turn it around backwards, you can't see the orange, and I kind of look like it. Oh, actually, I look better there, but I look like there's a hamburger place. Big Boy, is there some Big Boy hamburger place? I kind of look like that big.
You got to hold the tray.
Yeah, I got it right? Is it Big Boy? I hadn't even thought this through, but I kind of look like him. I don't know about Ren's probably going to capture this picture right here and embarrass me later using this as some sort of thumbnail or whatever. But let me turn the hat back around and let's get into it. Shannon Sharpe, Stephen A. Smith's partner on First Take. He's pulling a Skip Bayless on Stephen A. Smith. Shannon Sharpe skips Stephen A. Smith. That's kind of the theme for today because we've seen this already with Shannon Sharpe. He undermined Skip Bayless and basically destroyed Skip Bayless's career. And he's about to do the exact same thing to Stephen A. Smith. And I don't say this as a criticism of Shannon Sharpe. I really don't. I'm about to criticize Stephen A. Smith, but I'm really not saying this as a criticism of Shannon Sharpe. I'm just evaluating and telling you what happened with Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless and how it's about to repeat itself with Stephen A. Smith. The exact same thing. I want to be clear here. I'm not criticizing Shannon Sharpe. I will be criticizing Stephen A. Smith, but not Shannon Sharpe. I'm just explaining to you. So Shannon, when he was at Fox Sports, wanted more control of the show, Undisputed, with he and Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless controlled the show. Shannon didn't like that. Shannon had virtually no say-so. He worked just as hard, if not harder, at the show than Skip Bayless. And over time, Shannon being a Hall of Fame football player, Shannon being an elite athlete, he just couldn't deal with the fact that some fraudulent old white guy was making far more money than him and had total control of that show. And Shannon sitting there saying, Skip Bayless has a shtick that he's doing. This isn't authentic. It's not real. Skip is a bit autistic and weird. I'm the actual star of this show. I'm carrying this show. I should have more say-so, and I should damn sure be making more money. Couldn't get it. And so over time, he just started taking pot shots at Skip Bayless. And Skip Bayless went back at Shannon Sharpe, and you guys saw the tension erupt, and they had the, where Skip Bayless said, you're nothing compared to Tom Brady, and Shannon took his glasses off, and then Shannon basically played the race card on Skip Bayless. And ever since Shannon played the race card on Skip Bayless's ability to attract an audience, his brand was completely damaged. Well, it's happening all over again at ESPN. I think these guys are about a year into their relationship, maybe a year and a month and some change into their relationship. And Shannon Sharpe has discovered, hey, you know what? There's no real difference between Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. The only difference is Stephen A. Smith is the laziest person I've ever worked with. That's what Shannon Sharpe is coming to realize. Skip Bayless was a weirdo, but Skip Bayless worked at that show. Skip Bayless put in effort. He didn't know what he was talking about. It was mostly shtick and, just trolling, and Shannon didn't have respect for his football and sports acumen. It's not at Shannon's level. But Skip Bayless worked really hard and was really into the show. That is not the case with Stephen A. Smith. And Shannon's starting to figure that out. And so I want to play you this clip yesterday with this exchange between Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith. And this is a reenactment of what Sharpe did to Skip Bayless. It's on like Donkey Kong over at ESPN. Play the clip.
When it
Stephen
comes
A.,
to
can I ask you a question? Because you're trying to run out the clock. I get you. You made your point. You're trying to run out the clock. Do you like coming to work and having a headache every day you come to work?
Excuse me?
Stephen A., do you like coming to your job every day and having a headache? See, you talking about what you think you know. One voice, one sound. When you tried to win championships, you have one voice, one sound resonating. And you and I both know Bill Belichick is a bigger draw than Jerry Jones. That's why he has coaches that he can overshadow. He couldn't overshadow Jimmy. He couldn't overshadow Bill Parcells. He can't overshadow because those guys won before him.
Your argument goes right out the window when you mention championship and the Cowboys.
Now
in the
you
same
know more
breath.
football. Go ahead. Okay.
Hold on. Come on, Shannon. I never said I know more football than you. Stop that. I've never said that.
Teddy and I are
always
trying
say
to
that.
tell you, we're speaking from first-hand knowledge about guys with this type of personality. I get it. You love Jerry. There's a lot to love about it. But Teddy, can you please explain to this man, when you're trying to win championships, you need one voice talking for everybody. Not Jerry talking, not Bill talking, and then the coach, because they know this. Jerry is going to take care of the players because he's going to overshadow Bill's authority.
Shannon Sharpe on Stephen A. Smith's show just told the entire audience that Stephen A. Smith knows nothing about football. And Shannon Sharpe is the final authority on football on Stephen A. Smith's show. He just emasculated Stephen A. Smith on his own show, and Stephen A. Smith took it. I've never said that, Shannon. I know you know more football than I do. If this were a prison scene, Shannon Sharpe just told Stephen A. Smith, grab my belt loop and walk around, don't lose track of me. You're my prison. That's what he just did on Stephen A. Smith's own show. Some of you, this is disloyal. Stephen A. Smith has given Shannon Sharpe an opportunity. Fox let him go. Stephen A. gives him the opportunity. You all know nothing about Stephen A. Smith, how he operates, how fraudulent he is, how lazy he is. Shannon Sharpe now knows firsthand. He's living it every day, and it just eats at his brain. He's sitting there going, oh, they're going to pay Stephen A. Smith $20 million a year or 18 or whatever it is. They don't really need him now for NBA coverage because Inside the NBA will be appearing on ESPN. He's not any good, really, on this show. He's no different than Skip Bayless. He's just a shtick. He's just a gimmick. He's propped up. He's fraudulent. Shannon Sharpe has listened to every single word that I've exposed and said about Stephen A. Smith. Every athlete has heard about it, has watched it, has seen the receipts on the fraudulence of Stephen A. Smith. Shannon Sharpe watched the video of Stephen A. Smith and the shooting coach and laughed just like I did on this show. Shannon Sharpe knows this guy has lied about his college basketball career and much of his background. Shannon Sharpe knows he's been installed by Bob Iger and Disney, and he's a clown that knows nothing about the actual sports he's talking about, including basketball. He sat across from Stephen A. and he knows Stephen A's not even watching these games. He's not even a sports fan in reality. Shannon Sharpe has sat there and watched Stephen A. not even know who's on the New York Knicks roster, Stephen A's alleged favorite team. Stephen A. doesn't even know who's on their roster. He's watched Stephen A. say factually incorrect, common sense things about football. Stephen A. doesn't watch sports. He doesn't know sports. He doesn't talk intelligently about sports. And here's the truth about Shannon Sharpe. And Shannon doesn't like me most of the time or all the time, who knows. But I will speak factually on Shannon Sharpe. As a broadcaster, his football career speaks for itself. He's in the NFL Hall of Fame. He won 3 Super Bowls. All of that deserved. What he's done in broadcasting is more impressive than what he's done on the football field. Shannon Sharpe was, and I say this politely and without any animus or malice, Shannon Sharpe was an idiot coming out of high school. He couldn't get in academically to any school. Savannah State, an HBCU down in the South, let Shannon Sharpe come on campus because he's a freak athlete. Shannon Sharpe, bona fide idiot coming out of high school. This man has put in incredible work, overcome a lisp, overcome a lack of book smarts. He's made himself smart. He's put in, I've seen transformations like this before. I used to tell the story, and I've written about, there was a guy that played basketball at Ball State when I was playing football there, and I've written about him in the past. I've talked about his name was Keith Stalling. He came to Ball State on a Prop 48. But this is back when Prop 48, you had to sit out because his SAT score was low, his GPA was so low. I'm telling Keith, I'm just telling you, Keith was academically challenged. He and another guy got an exchange about how to spell cat, and I believe it was Keith that spelled cat with a K. I watched Keith Stalling over the course of 4 or 5 years at Ball State and over the course of his lifetime. This man's has a doctorate degree. He's one of the smartest people one of the smartest, most educated people I went to college with. I watched this man transform himself. He came from a Chicago ghetto, and he transformed himself through hard work and effort. It's one of the most incredible. This is how I know like God is real and miracles actually happen and what you can do if you put the work in. This is what Shannon Sharpe has done. This guy takes broadcasting and his post-playing career incredibly seriously. He watches film of himself. He watches film of other broadcasters. He watches the games. He's a true, passionate sports fan. He takes this whole endeavor very, very seriously, and he is offended. He can't help but be offended by what he's witnessing and has witnessed from Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith has been installed. He hasn't earned one bit of this. This has all been given to him. People have overlooked his fraudulent, lying background. People have overlooked the fact when he was at the Philadelphia Inquirer, the editors had to rewrite all of his work. People have had to overlook, compared to Mike Wilbon and count everybody else, what he knows about the NBA, the NFL, and these sports doesn't even remotely compare. But because he's willing to play the buffoon, and Bob Iger and Disney love black buffoons, Stephen A. Smith has been promoted and installed and placed at the top of ESPN, and trust me, right now it's driving Shannon Sharpe crazy. They're about to pay this idiot, lazy idiot who doesn't put any work in, they're about to pay him $20 million? And I'm sitting over here making $5 million or $4 million. I don't know what they're paying him. And Shannon Sharpe's like, hey, this guy's vulnerable. His eyes are bigger than his stomach. He may be demanding too much money from ESPN. Everybody's looking at Stephen A. Smith run and go do every political talk show he can think of every night of the week. Again, you watch Stephen A. from First Take to his podcast to whatever political show he can be on. It's like, when does the guy ever sleep? When does he ever have time to prepare? When does he have time? Again, he's getting paid right now $12, $13, $14 million from ESPN, but he's constantly on camera every place else in the world. When does he have time to actually prepare for for the show that makes him the most money? When does he have time to actually watch the sports that he talks about? He doesn't. And Shannon knows it, and it's driving him crazy. And so, Shannon Sharpe, being what many men are, apex predator, he's about to devour or try to devour Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith thinks he's got ESPN by the balls. Shannon Sharpe is saying, no, you don't, because they can kick you to the curb and I can handle this show. I'm an actual bigger star than you. Just go compare our YouTube shows. This is what Shannon Sharpe is saying and thinking appropriately. And he's like, and I'll offer ESPN the opportunity. They can pay me $10 million, half of what Stephen A. Smith is demanding, and I'll carry this show, and we'll have people running in here that'll take, $5,000 an episode to debate me or talk about me, or we can sign someone to be opposite me. We can sign them for pennies on the dollar in compared to Stephen A. Smith. That's what's the athletes have decided that none of these shows need journalists. And they certainly don't need a fake, phony, unaccomplished journalist like Stephen A. Smith, a fraudulent journalist. They don't need people that are 57 years old still trying to prove to everybody that they were some sort of basketball player 35 years ago. Everybody knows that's a fraud. The silence from all these athletes as it relates to the things that I exposed about Stephen A. Smith tells me how loudly they're talking about it behind the scenes. When you have a guy that sits on TV and is a know-it-all like Stephen A. Smith and picks and chooses who he runs his mouth about and who he criticizes, if you think these athletes, from Kevin Durant, the current athletes to the former athletes, are like Kwame Brown, look at this fraud that ESPN has propped up. This guy that's lied about everything, who claims to be a journalist. He's the Jason Blair of sports journalists. Go look up Jason Blair, Jayson. Go look it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. But they're like, in our world, in a world in sports where merit is everything, Stephen A. Smith has earned nothing. They don't respect Stephen A. Smith. And right now, Shannon Sharpe is putting the pieces in place and kicking over the dominoes to make it real easy, if ESPN chooses to walk away from Stephen A. Smith. Who knows? Shannon Sharpe might be working with management right now to undermine Stephen A. Smith's negotiating power. Because trust me, Stephen A.'s ego is so out of control. Who goes on a 2-year public contract negotiation campaign? It's been one of the most disrespectful and dumb things I've ever seen. Stephen A. Smith has carried out this contract negotiation publicly now for 2 years. Who does that? The guy offers nothing of importance to the world. He yaps and yells and screams about sports. I'm not saying he should take whatever ESPN offers, but this public campaign, this jealousy that he has for Pat McAfee, it's insane. It's disrespectful. ESPN has installed you and propped you up and overlooked all the stupid things you've said over the years. They've supported you when they really haven't had to, nor have they needed to. They can plug anybody in that spot, basically, and get 400,000 or 500,000 viewers. But Stephen A. Smith has acted as if he's doing ESPN the favor. And he's wearing out his welcome. People are tired of it. And you run around and you want Chris Cuomo's show and Patrick McDavid's show, and anytime anybody wants to put you on TV to talk about presidential campaign politics and all that. That's what you do. He mails in his effort every day on First Take because he's out pursuing everything that pays him far less than ESPN. That's a recipe for a comeuppance. That's a recipe for the organization that made you. That lack of gratitude is how you wear out your welcome and they hit you with the deuces. Shannon Sharpe can smell it. Trust me, I can see it from where I'm at. Shannon Sharpe actually works for ESPN, is in studio in New York from time to time, deals with those ESPN executives. His agents know what ESPN is thinking, and they're like, hey man, Stephen A. Smith may have gone too far here. He has bitten the hand that's fed him far too many times. And so now, Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith are at war. What a time to be alive. And I know that many of you are sitting out there, Jason, Stephen A. Smith was right. Everybody in the media hates you. And I've already told y'all the truth on that I don't like them either. And they don't like me for a reason, because I've been critical of them because I talk like this. I talk transparently about what's going on in the media. And right now, there's an athlete takeover going on in sports media. These apex predators are devouring the idiots who get in bed with them. Shannon Sharpe did it to Skip Bayless, and now he's doing it to Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A's not built for this. Again, if there was Shannon, and it's not just that I played a tiny bit of mid-major football, but Shannon Sharpe wouldn't try this, do this with me. He just wouldn't, because he may not like me, but he's gonna respect my work ethic. He's gonna respect my knowledge of the things that I talk about. And he's going to have to admit, like, man, Whitlock knows what he's talking about. And Whitlock ain't no punk. You're not gonna talk crazy to me and me go, yeah, you right. I never said I knew as much as you on football. I'll end with Chris Carter, when I was at FS1, he tried this in a rehearsal with me. This is before Speak for Yourself aired. But Chris Carter, we were doing rehearsals every day, and Chris Carter, me and Cowherd and Chris Carter on set, and Chris Carter tried that, because all these guys have this arrogance. If you didn't play in the NFL, you don't know what you're talking about. And Chris Carter tried this with me, and I was like, I almost said it, I didn't want to say it, but Nugget, are you crazy? Nugget, please. No, it ain't going down like that, Chris. And if we have to scrap, I've been beat up before, it's no big deal. And if I get a shot in, we'll see if you can handle it. But who cares? I'm too old for that, any of that. But I'm just like, I just don't, you have to stand up to these bullies. Because they are apex predators. And if you're not a predator, they will eat you alive. Stephen A., he's not built for it. He was built for he and Skip Bayless to sit across from each other and lie to each other. Remember Skip Bayless? Like, in high school, I would have been a great high school basketball star, but the coach didn't like me. And I can't remember what his excuse was about the coach, and Jalen Rose called him out about it. That's who Stephen A. Smith was built for. These were two fraudulent guys, insecure about their athletic careers, exaggerating their athletic careers. Stephen A. and Skip Bayless needed each other, deserved each other. They were a match made in fraudulence. Stephen A. out here with a real one, with like a bona fide superstar athlete, and worse for him, because I have to say this is 1,000% real. Shannon Sharpe is a bona fide broadcaster. He put the work in. It's one of the most amazing transformations I've ever seen. And I just got to salute him. It's again, Charles Barkley and what he does, his homespun persona and all that, that's all natural. Shannon Sharpe put actual work in as a comedic talent. The stuff Shannon Sharpe does with his facial expressions and his timing, all of this that's not just natural. That's like, oh man, this dude has been in the gym, he's been in the lab, he has studied things. And right now, he's got Stephen A. Smith in his sights, and I love it. It's a joy to see. We'll bring in, I got some more stuff that I want to talk about as it relates to Stephen A. and Shannon Sharpe, but we'll do it with Steve Kim just around the corner. Before I get there, though, I want to talk to you guys about preborn. If we've learned anything from this election, it's how important it is to fight, fight, fight. We also learned how desperately the left wants to fight to take babies' lives, which is why every day Preborn Ministries fights for those babies. Preborn's network of clinics is positioned in the highest abortion areas, and they're fighting for mothers who are deciding between the life and death of their unborn children. By introducing a mother to her child on a free ultrasound, they double the chances that that mother will choose life. Then they show those babies and the mothers God's love by providing additional assistance for up to 2 years. When those on the left shout abortion, we must shout life. Will you help Preborn in its quest to save lives? If you have the means, would you consider a leadership gift to save a baby in a big way? Your tax-deductible donation of $5,000 will sponsor Preborn's entire network for 24 hours, helping to rescue 200 babies. To donate, dial pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Steve Kim, Korean Cosell. Next. Offensive line issues are going to undermine this team, and that is the problem with the Chiefs more so than anything else.
They're gonna win 5 of their last 6 games. Andy Reid's your coach of the year. They're gonna win 5 of 6 games. Andy Reid, even if they win 4 of their last games.
Butter's trolling me.
Andy Reid, coach of the year. What they've been able to do this year is I think it's going underrated and underappreciated. And I think it's the same way LeBron doesn't win the MVP all the time because I feel like Andy Reid is.
He's trolling me. He just brought LeBron into this. He just compared Andy Reid to LeBron James. He's trolling me. Get the butter box out. You're done, Butter.
You gotta give this guy his
just
props.
compared Andy Reid to LeBron James. That is a troll job.
HOC.
Cut the mic. He compared Andy Reid to LeBron James.
Well, they both have a little form of nepotism. Aren't Reid on the coaching staff? I mean, there are some. To Butter's point, I don't completely disagree in this sense.
Make it for him, because we will not hear Butter's voice the rest of this show. Go ahead and make it for him, Steve.
14-2, and I get it, they're the Super Bowl defending champions, whatever that means. But if you go 14-2 with this particular team and you get the best shot every week, I don't completely disagree. I know it's about expectations and overcoming them or exceeding them.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Listen that I'm back just to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 So fly
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim, Korean Cosell. Welcome back to the show. Steve,
Wait a minute.
Your thoughts. Oh, what? What happened?
Your hat. What? Oh, see.
Oh, yeah, I took it off.
Okay,
it was
put that
squeezing
on.
my head. Yeah, there we go.
I know.
There we go.
A couple things. You either need to go to Lids, L-I-D-Z, at your if there's still a shopping mall in your city. Those are dying. But you need to call Cam Newton. He has big, oversized hats. It'll fit you perfectly. So just that's my recommendation.
Hey, do I look like a guy from Big Boys, the sandwich shop, if I put the platter down?
Bob's Big Boy, there's still one in Burbank, California that I go to. But Bob's had the Ronald Reagan hair. But yeah, you could if there was a black version of it, you would actually pass pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah.
Have we shown Butter yet? Butter's got an Oklahoma State baseball jersey on. We're all in on the
God,
Cowboys.
What?
Yeah,
What in the name
we're
of
wearing
Robin
them for different
Ventura?
reasons, though. Steve, I'm wearing it for a different reason than Jason is.
yeah.
Yeah.
He got that out of the
Name
toddler
of
section
Julia.
at JCPenney.
Baby Gap.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. Steve, what do you think of the fight brewing between Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe?
The only thing that was missing was Stephen A. telling Shannon, put on your glasses. So this is the same thing, but this here was a little bit of black on black crime. And it goes to show you that, number one, as someone who didn't play the game but covers sports, and this is where Stephen A. does go sideways, you have to know what you don't know and learn how to defer, okay? The other thing is, and you clearly pointed this out, deep down, Shannon Sharpe does not truly respect either the work ethic of his partner at that point, Stephen A. Smith, or his knowledge. And you could have great discussions as someone who didn't play the game, didn't have a pro career, is not a National Football League or Pro Football Hall of Famer. And there's no doubt about it that to a certain degree that this has been brewing. Stephen A. likes to bloviate. He likes to act like he's an expert. See, think about this, Jason, and we brought her name up a week or two ago, Jackie McCallum. The reason why no athlete, an NBA player, ever blew up at her is because she knew the boundaries of her own knowledge, but she was on the scene. I mean, she was on the beat, so she had intimate knowledge. Players see that, and they're like, you know what? You're in the trenches. I respect that. But if you're just a talking head that gets to say random things with almost no responsibility or accountability, that will build up some tension. And to the point that they were talking about, Shannon's absolutely right. There's no coach like a Belichick that wants to deal with the Jerry Jones, and he's not going to get talked over or have the clock run out on him by a Stephen A. Smith.
I do want to add, I believe Jackie McMullen was a pretty good college basketball player as well. And so she knew the game. She covered it well as a journalist. None of these things apply to Stephen A. Smith. He was never a good journalist, and he doesn't know the game that well. And I'm telling you, it drives Shannon Sharpe crazy. Do you think ESPN talks to Shannon Sharpe, or do you think there are people at ESPN that are like, nah, let's let this play out. Let's let these two have this battle, and you know, the strongest man will survive?
Well, if you want a debate show, don't you want debate? You don't want this to become an echo chamber. I would love to see Shannon Sharpe become the black version of Scott Jennings, who just drives everyone nuts on a daily basis on CNN. He nearly made Kerry Champion's head explode yesterday. I don't know if you saw that clip, but
I did.
Yeah.
In my view, Stephen A. and Shannon have probably talked and had a discussion, and it probably went something like Stephen A. saying, I'm the star, and Shannon Sharpe saying, you might be, but stay in your lane. I'm the knowledge. And again, when you have your own safety net of your own platform, the way Shannon Sharpe does, I believe you could take liberties, because in life, it's all about options and leverage. Those things are always tied together.
Now, here's how I think that conversation went, seriously, is Stephen A's like, hey, man, you ain't going to do me like you did Skip. And Shannon said, and you ain't going to do me the way Skip did, and try to diminish my knowledge as a Hall of Fame football player. Hey, we both have roles to play here. You got to let me be the football expert. And Stephen A. will say, well, hey, man, I'm no problem with you being the football expert, but you can't tell the audience that basically I don't know what I'm talking about and only listen to Shannon Sharpe. That's how that conversation went.
Right. You know, you may be right, but Jason, and I've said this, look, I've covered boxing for 30 years, but I don't take punches for a living. True wisdom, in my view, as I get older and older, I have found is this: knowing what you don't know. That's truth. Like, we don't know everything, and we have to be on a hunt for wisdom and knowledge every single day. And some of that is just when you interview somebody, I don't make it into a debate. Like some of my favorite conversations I ever had, Jason, and I draw back to this a lot when I write about boxing, certain situations. I would talk for hours at a time with the late, great Emmanuel Stewart, Mr. Kronk Boxing, best known for his work with Thomas Hearns. And I would just ask him a question and let him say whatever he wanted for as long as he could and just soak in the knowledge. I would ask him questions. I would have some, I wouldn't have conflicts with them, but I would debate him on certain things, understanding, hey, I'm not the expert here. And then you try to use that for your own usage when you work. Stephen A. really thinks that he actually knows the inner workings of a football team and how the National Football League works. And I think that's where he goes a little bit sideways with guys like Shannon Sharpe.
I want to play you. This is a different Stephen A. Smith conversation. We'll put the Shannon Sharpe feud on hold for a few more days. We'll see what develops over the Thanksgiving holiday. But I want to play you Stephen A. Smith talking with Bill Maher and these guys talking about Donald Trump and whether Donald Trump is a racist or not, and get your reaction. This is about a 3-minute clip. Let's play it.
All right, so here's the thing.
Right.
So there are all these, white boys are talking to me about Trump, and he's a terrible racist. And it's like, well, how could the black people vote for him more than each time? And they didn't vote for him a lot more, but men did.
Right, men did.
Okay, and I said, you know what? I don't want to speak for all black people, and this is where I need to tell you.
Sure.
You tell me if I was wrong or right.
Okay.
I said, you know what I think black people think about Trump? Like, is he a racist? Yeah, but they think every white person is kind of a racist. And do they think that white people behind closed doors talk like Trump? Yeah, he's just a crazy person.
That last part right there. It's not that. It's not
he
that.
Just says it out loud
as black people. I don't want to speak for all black people, whatever.
No,
obviously I'm
because they're not all alike.
That's right, all. Exactly. But I will say this to you, as being a black man, you don't look at white people and automatically think they're racist. You automatically know they're different than you, that they think different than you, that they come from a different cultural background and experience things differently than they do.
Right.
So that second part is very, very important, because when you talk about how Trump talks, we're going like this. So that's the first time he talked like that, when he became president. Who the fuck you think you playing with? We know better than that. We know better than that. We know that ain't the first time, and we know that the people that he was friends with all of these years, he talked just like that around y'all, and y'all didn't have no problem with it. Don't act like you have a problem
and
now.
Also had some genuine black friends and black folks who like him.
Well, let me tell you this. I don't know if I told you this.
Because it's complicated.
I don't know if I
Life
told you
is
this.
complicated.
I wouldn't call myself his friend by any stretch of the imagination back in the day.
Right.
But I've told this on many occasions. I said this in my recent appearance on The View and stuff like that. Trump and I were friendly.
Right.
Before he ran for president. He used to have these boxing matches, particularly during the Tyson fights at the Trump casinos. He would be at the Knicks games and stuff like that. And if we're being totally honest, all the brothers found him to be cool.
Right.
They found him to be very cool. So let's be clear, because he knew his sports, all right? He would say what he feel.
Right.
He bucked the establishment, which we loved. And we gravitated to that, and obviously he was a billionaire.
And also he was a certain age.
And you
get a certain understanding that white men of that age, they're going to be a little grandpa. We don't say that anymore.
No,
but
like, him.
Is he really in his heart hateful? No, I think
I've never.
I don't think his motivation is I don't like black people. I think his motivation is everybody must love me.
Thank you. And that's why, that's right there, what you just said, everybody must love me.
It's his narcissism. It's not his racism.
I have never called him a racist. I have never spoken about him that way, ever. Not one time, because I knew him beforehand.
So, Steve, here's my problem with that conversation, because I just, it's not authentic, it's not honest, it's not transparent. I've never heard Trump say one thing that I haven't heard black people say themselves about black people or anybody else. This whole deal that, hey, as black people, we look and see white people and say, we know they're different than us. we know they think different than us. That's not my thought. You know, for me as a faith-based person, okay, I don't think that, oh, white people think differently than I do. It's just they're trying to be complimentary of Trump while still trying to argue, yeah, he's racist, but he's racist in an acceptable way. I don't like the conversation.
Jason, I believe both of these guys are incredibly inauthentic as it relates to number 47, because they can say what they want. They campaigned against him. They tried to use their influence to get the other candidate, who shall not be named, the cackling one, elected. It failed, and it was a repudiation.
All right, hey, let's reconnect with Steve. Oh, Steve, we're going to reconnect and try to improve your connection. Just give us about 60 seconds. Hang up with Steve. Me and Butter can stay. I'm just, this whole notion that Stephen A can say, well, I look at white people and I know they're different than us. You don't have that liberty. If you were to say, well, I look at black people and say they're different than us, you'd be called a racist.
Yeah, I find these conversations they don't take you anywhere. They both had a real hard angle at Trump. Stephen A on ESPN for years, he said, I don't speak for black people. One of my reasons I moved away from ESPN was because he talked about how his community, his people, he constantly separated himself. I find these conversations funny because it's in the aftermath of a huge Trump win. They're grasping at things. They're flopping all around like a fish in a boat, trying to find something stable to stand on. And I kind of love watching it. I do think you're right. This is an Iger, this is an ESPN, this is a repositioning, a rebranding of Stephen A. Smith happening right before our eyes.
Yeah, where he's trying to pretend like, yeah, I kind of like Trump. Yeah, I kind of dislike Trump. I'm right there in the middle. And we're in an era, and this is where Stephen A. is reading the tea leaves wrong. We're at a time where men are finally taking, and women, strong stances. And these people that think, well, I'm going to both sides it, and I'm going to be the guy in the middle. I see truth on both sides. We're actually in an era where it's in vogue and it's being rewarded for like, nah, that's some BS. This is the truth. And that's what Trump's appeal has been, is whether you like him or not, he actually tells you what he thinks. And the truth is very polarizing. It just, a lot of people just don't like it. But this whole, this inference that black people are sitting around like, and haven't said really, really things that would be considered. If a white person said what black people at the Masterpiece Lounge, that's my father's bar where I grew up and it was all black folks. If white people said the stuff that we used to say inside the Masterpiece Lounge, it was like, man, this sounds like a KKK rally. And
that y'all would say about white people?
About black people.
About black people.
The conversation was worse about black people because here's what white people have the liberty. I'm not sure it's the right thing to do, but what white people do is say, hey man, I don't want to be bothered with that white trash. Y'all say that and no one bats an eye, and y'all differentiate and say, man, that's some white trash, I don't want nothing to do with it. Black people do the same thing. Man, that's some N-word, SHIT, I don't want to be bothered with it, blah, blah, they need to do better, blah, 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 blah. That's just people. If you have a ghetto mentality, if you have a bunch of values that do not lead to success and make a neighborhood less safe, and what makes a neighborhood less safe is single parenthood, divorced families. That's just a fact. It doesn't matter what color you are. If you have a destructed nuclear family and the neighborhood is overrun with single parents, whether it be mamas or single daddies, but particularly single mamas, people don't want to be associated with that. And my parents divorced. I was in a home with me and my brother led by a woman. Father was involved with our life all the way throughout. But that is not ideal. And neighborhood, you go to any zip code that's got a high single motherhood rate, and trust me, you got a high crime rate. Period, end of story. People don't like it. And there's a particular demographic, my demographic, skin color wise, that has a high divorce rate, a high single parent rate. The neighborhoods aren't safe. It's not the skin color, it's the values, it's the culture, it's the lack of the nuclear family. Steve, Kim, I'm hoping you're back.
I'm back.
Pick back up. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish your thought, and then I got
is
another clip I want to show you.
They are trying to save face because with their platforms and their sizable audiences, they acted as surrogates for Kamala Harris, the cackling one. And they're on the wrong side of history. Okay? And now I find this.
Oh, man. This is a terrible day. Terrible day to have problems. Let's try Steve one more time. Hopefully, Steve, you start back up if you can, or go ahead. No, I think you're.
Don't you feel a little bit, though, like I feel from, my perspective, I feel way more comfortable speaking about things than I think I ever have. Like, I don't know about online, but I feel much more comfortable speaking directly about things I like and don't like about Black people. Like, I don't feel like that's as far removed because it's not rooted, it's rooted in value. It's rooted in that I feel I'm connecting about things that are acceptable to talk about because it's not just only, even though on mainstream media it's always about race, it's race, race, race. But I feel like there's a little, and you see it in comedy. I think there's a little bit more of that breaking down at the top level, that it doesn't paralyze you to think that you might want to say something or joke or be candid about something. I feel that's coming back a little bit more.
It's necessary because the truth is the only correction. And so literally, like, this will sound crazy to some people, but it's the truth. Comedians joking about single parenthood in Black communities, it's necessary.
Yeah.
It's the only way to make people realize, like, oh, this is a problem. Oh, this is what it's not some white dude 30 miles away in another community that's my problem. It's the divorce rate. It's the irresponsible sex rate. It's the kids out of wedlock. And so comedians cracking those jokes, it's important. People need to be mocked and ridiculed. It's like what they got to bring fat jokes back. As a fat person, again, people shouldn't be walking around thinking it's perfectly okay to be overweight. And so we have to bring these things back because regardless of color, if you're overweight, it's unhealthy. It hurts the rest of society. No different than single parenthood. And so, Butter, I would say the advice I would give you would be to talk about the behaviors and don't even put a color on it. And just like, it's like, hey man, because you're married, you got 2 kids. Marriage is rewarding, but it's a real challenge. And if you don't want to take on that challenge, you need to be willing to deal with the consequences of not taking on that challenge. And the consequences are your kids aren't going to be as well-rounded. They're not going to be as successful as look, you can always point to the aberration. And maybe your kid will be born 6'8" like LeBron James. But overall, if your kids are Butter's height and Butter's kids are in a 2-parent home and yours are in a single-parent home, good luck. You're sentencing your kids to a statistical certainty or a statistical narrative that they're less likely to be successful than Butter's kids. These are just facts, and people have to deal with those facts. Steve, I'm gonna have to move on and play a different clip if we got Steve back. Steve, I want to play you. Shannon Sharpe has been defensive about getting paid by Kamala Harris. There are people online that are shredding him and accusing him that he got paid to do the Kamala Harris interview. He's had tweets kind of leaving the door open that maybe he got paid. But, he commented, let's play SOT number 3, Shannon denying getting paid by Kamala Harris for that softball interview. Play the clip.
And the big thing was, Ocho, I did the interview with Kamala.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, I don't know. I mean, I guess there are some people that she did, and she paid them to do the interview. I didn't get paid. All you gotta do is look at the FCE, Federal Election Commission, right? That's who keeps track of what the campaign paid. All you gotta do, y'all keep asking me, look, why my name didn't come out? If I got paid, don't you think I would have been on that list?
Right.
But I thought y'all loved capitalism. Oh, y'all love capitalism as long as it don't look like me.
I like that.
As long as it don't look like me, y'all all for capitalism. But y'all didn't ask, did y'all ask Joe Rogan? Did Trump pay you to interview him? Did y'all ask Theo Vaughn? Did Trump pay them to interview him? Did y'all ask Tucker Carlson? Did y'all ask Fox News? Who did y'all ask? Or y'all just asking Black? I didn't get paid anything. Well, who paid you? Ain't nobody paid me. We have advertisers and sponsors. Y'all see when we roll, we come on, their ads, y'all say, man, all the ads. Yeah, how do you think we keep the lights on? I got 18 people employed. Actually 19 now, about to have 2021. So how do you think we pay? How do you think I pay Ash? How do you think I pay Jordan? How do you think I pay graphics and editors and CJ? So I'm supposed to do it for free? We're not a nonprofit. So yes, we have advertisers, we have sponsors. And so when we go out, we run the ads throughout the interview, just like we run ads from time to time. BMW, you see the ads, but no, I didn't make no money.
Yeah, we got BMW.
People got upset. Well, I don't pay for interviews. I don't have a problem, Ocho, for people that does pay for interviews. That's just not the model that we use.
Don't need it.
So no, and I think it's beneficial. Yes, I did offer Cat because Cat gave us something. Cat really not only did he put Club Shay Shay, but he put Say Shay Shay Media on the map. He took me to a whole new level. He said he was. Yes, I offered to pay Cat because I thought that's what I should do. That would have been the right thing to do. Cat did not accept it. He would not accept it. But I didn't make any money. But y'all know I didn't make no money because if it was, it'd have been news. They'd have had it scroll over all these sites. Y'all have had it all over the place. But y'all don't ask that.
He's being dishonest here. The whole thing stems from she paid Beyonce, she paid Cardi B, she paid a bunch of Roland Martin, Al Sharpton. That's why she's getting asked. It's been disclosed. It's not some racial thing. It's the fact that she was paying people to support her. And I think Shannon's playing loose with the facts here. I think the reason why he's went on that advertising tirade is because I guarantee you some big name advertiser advertised on his site if he had Kamala Harris on. So BMW or whomever could, hey, Shannon, we'll drop $200K worth of advertising on you, have Kamala Harris on you. That's what happened. But he's playing loose. He's dancing around the truth here. Did he get paid directly? No. And that's why he's saying, y'all just don't like capitalism, except when it looks like me. Man, cut it out, Shannon. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's going with the blackativism card. This is a false equivalency here, though, Jason. There's a reason why no one is asking guys like Tucker Carlson. One of the reasons is there was a campaign in this last presidential race that is not 20 million in the hole after spending $1 billion in about 100 days. It was the winning side. And it turns out the reason why we're not asking any of those names that Shannon Sharpe listed, turns out nobody was paid. This is not, it's a non-story he's trying to make into a story. And I do wonder, is he upset about the accusations or is he upset that he actually did not get paid? Now, keep this in mind, Jason, to what you talked about. Oprah Winfrey, when cornered by TMZ, said, no, I didn't get paid. No. Well, it turned out it wasn't just $1 million. It was 2.5 to her company. Harpo. So again, context matters. But Shannon, I want to make this clear. It turns out that Trump's endorsements were actually much more authentic than the ones for Kamala Harris. That's why you are being asked and no one on the opposite side.
I think that's the main issue here. It's like a Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph situation. It's like you can always just go claim racism, go claim color. Nobody thought she connected. Nobody thought she answered any questions. Nobody felt like she was ever speaking directly in an authentic way. The whole criticism of why the people that were either interviewed her or had her on her shows was because there was this notion that she wasn't connecting with anybody, and this was part of how they achieved it. It has nothing to do with color.
Well, as someone who interviewed Donald Trump in 2020, I was not offered any money and wasn't interested in any money. That's not the way they rolled or I rolled or whatever. And I don't think Trump needed to pay people money, because when he show up and do interviews, people got major views. When she showed up and did the Shannon Sharpe interview, it didn't do much.
And the way that the money was spent and the overpaying for things and on Who's Her Daddy, having them fly in, the restrictions she was trying to put, they
built a whole studio for that.
All of this stuff goes into why he's being asked about it.
Yeah. I just these guys from Sharpe to Stephen A. This goes back to what you said at the beginning, Steve. You got to know what you don't know. And I tried to walk a delicate balance here on this show, because I could see that there was a lot of clout, a lot of clicks and traction if you went all in on the presidential election. It just, and look, I thought about it. People can second guess me on it. Royce White has second guessed me on it in terms of, you should just get out of sports and just talk politics. And I was like, nah, that's not what I do. Politics isn't my passion. I don't mind talking about it, but I don't try to pass myself off like I'm Tucker Carlson or Megyn Kelly or any of these people that have devoted their lives to this. They're not. I think I know a few things, but I'm gonna stick in my lane, and I'm gonna pass up the short-term gain of, hey, just go Trump, Kamala 24/7, soak up all the attention and attraction during this political deal. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think it was authentic to who I am and my brain. This is my first time ever voting, and this is the only election that compelled me to vote. There was no reason for me to jump in and act like I was smarter than Glenn Beck and all these other people that, have been doing, politics their whole career. I just didn't want to seem that inauthentic. And I think a lot of people, as Steve pointed to, a lot of these celebrities, they're idiots. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're just doing it because there's money and traction to be gained from it. I'm good with my decision. Hey, Steve, before I let you go, I do want to talk a little bit about Monday Night Football and Derrick Henry, 140 yards last night. They knock off the Chargers. Look pretty good offensively. I did question the officiating a bit. The Ravens win 30-23. Le'Veon Bell had an interesting tweet or post on X about, what's going on with the running back positions. The Giants let go of Saquon Barkley. Titans let Derrick Henry go. Josh Jacobs, the Raiders let Josh Jacobs go. Those three teams are combined 7-26. Those three running backs teams combined are 24-9. This goes back to our point yesterday. Is this a passing trend? Is just a momentary blip? Or are we starting to see the league lean back into running backs?
Nothing ever changes. Nothing ever stays the same. Now put some context on those three running backs you mentioned, Jason. They all went to significantly better situations in terms of not just the overall teams, but they all upgraded at quarterback too. Well, let's be honest. The jump from Daniel Jones to Hurts right? And you got Josh Jacobs, who went from that Raider quagmire to Jordan Love in the Packers. And then Derrick Henry is probably with the guy that's still in the MVP race. So you have to kind of put that into full context. But yeah, running backs matter. And Bill Belichick makes this point a lot. Because nobody really practices or tackles, they don't do the middle drill, the Oklahoma drill. They're not physical during training camp. A team that is willing to be a little bit old-fashioned and go under center and run downhill, these defenses are not equipped to run fit properly or be physical. And Jason, I'm watching this game last night, and there were times when defenders were literally trying to sidestep Derrick Henry and do a very, very physical version of flag football. They were trying to tackle him, but they weren't trying to hit him. And there's a difference. And if you look at the box score, which tells you a lot, Jason, I believe that the Ravens had 37 rushing attempts. They only threw the ball 22. And you saw what happened there. Less was more when you ask Lamar Jackson to not have to play Superman every single game.
Steve, I want to move on to Kurt Warner had something interesting to say about Patrick Mahomes. Most people believe Patrick Mahomes is having a subpar season. The Chiefs are 10-1, but Mahomes' touchdowns and interception ratio is not that strong. Here's what Kurt Warner, Hall of Fame quarterback, St. Louis Rams, Arizona Cardinals, had to say. I know Patrick Mahomes may not have the stats we have come to know, or the O may not be scoring up to expectations, but until you pop on the tape each week and see what exactly he is doing play to play, you have no idea how good this guy really is. He continually makes the play in the moment, whether it shows up as impressive in the stat book or not. Here's Mahomes' 24 statistics. 11 games played, 69% completion rate, 2,600 yards, 18 TDs, 11 interceptions. I think Kurt Warner's politely saying, man, if you could see how much pressure he's enduring because they have an offensive line problem, you'd be more impressed with Patrick Mahomes. You agree?
Jason, I'm going to take my own advice. So Kurt Warner has a couple more Super Bowl appearances than I do. He has one more Super Bowl ring, and I'm not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I'm going to defer. He's the guy that, and I know this for a fact because I've watched his channel. He watches the All 22. He actually does really study the game. He does not just watch highlights. He watches game film, and he has an advanced football mind. So what he's basically saying is guys like me and you, maybe we need to back off that. Maybe he's still that Michelin star-rated chef, but all he's getting is 3-day leftovers. And maybe he's not making gourmet meals, but he's still making something very edible that you could feed your family every day. So let's think about it. We don't like their offensive line. Pacheco's been hurt. Wide receivers are not explosive as they were back in the Tyreek Hill days. And unfortunately, Kelsey is now descending athletically. And yet this guy, led by him, because that's his team basically, he has them 10-1. What Kurt Warner is telling you is that any other quarterback would probably be about 6-4, 5-5.
Yeah, I think as it relates to pass protection issues, Kurt Warner's nailing it here. I'm going to defer to him as well. I don't think he's someone that says things trying to kiss up to anybody. I think he's looked at the film, looked at the tape, looked at the pressure, looked at, the young receivers and, just, how good are they with their route running and just figuring out, knowing where to be for Patrick Mahomes. It may all make sense. And there's no reason for me to believe that, because I got myself into trouble a couple years ago when Patrick Mahomes struggled, or maybe it was just last year early on when he struggled. And I was like, man, I just don't know if he's got the hunger like Tom Brady. And holy cow, did he prove me wrong. Not going to do that again. Plus, his wife's an out-of-the-closet Trump supporter.
No. Well, I mean, Jason, look at the Chiefs here. Rashee Rice looked like he was going to start to become a true number one. He gets injured. They have to bring in DeAndre Hopkins. He's at the tail end of what's been a very good career. Hollywood Brown never got started. So, in essence, coming out of training camp or going into it, there's actually an argument to be made that Kansas City is playing with their 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th receivers. And I'm watching this drive against Carolina, the defense breaks down late, and I'm thinking, okay, can he do it again? Most or a good part of that drive, Jason, was him just saying, you know what? There's nobody open. Nobody can create separation. Let me just run here. I'm going to put my body at risk, and I'm going to will our way to a victory. So he's one of those guys that, again, I think Ben Franklin once said it. There's lies, damn lies, and then statistics. That might be the case of Patrick Mahomes in 2024.
Steve, don't have much time here, but I do want to talk about the San Francisco 49ers, who I believe are 5-6. You know, they were a team that came into the season with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations. Everyone thought it was them in Kansas City. Here's their finishing schedule. At Buffalo, Chicago Bears, Los Angeles Rams, at Miami, and then hosting Detroit, and then at Arizona. Are the 49ers done? Are they going to miss the playoffs this year?
You know what that sound was? That's the window being shut on them as a true Super Bowl contender. Now, with that said, you know what their strength is, Jason? That they're in the NFC worst. That's a bad division. And I'm watching this Packer game, and they're kind of floundering, and I get it. They had their backup quarterback in. They still have some big names, but these guys, their injuries are lingering longer. They have not been durable. They're losing games. It just does not look right. But I didn't realize how bad that division was. Every team, those 4, are either 6-5, 5-5, and like the Niners, 5-6. So they're not out of the playoff mix. But I believe that their Super Bowl window, that's over.
I think if you're Woody Johnson or look at the rebuild that's probably coming in Dallas, I would emulate
Woody Johnson, that's the owner of the Jets. Now the rebuild in Dallas. Make it make sense for me.
I'm saying I'm saying the 49ers in the last 5 years have been to 3 NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl. They're having an off year. Injuries have plagued them. If you were looking to restructure an organization, I would emulate what the 49ers have done, and that's what I'm saying about those 2 organizations. 3 out of the last 5 years, they've been at the door. So if their Super Bowl window's closing, I don't think it is. They're proving that is the formula to win in the NFL. System over player.
Oh, Butter, you know where I thought you were going? I thought you were suggesting to Woody Johnson to trade Aaron Rodgers to San Francisco. I was kind of liking that. And then you went in a different direction, and I need a Thomas guide. Here's the final way. They've been to 2 Super Bowls.
I thought he was.
All I'm saying, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, they're putting these guys in a system and getting to the day. They're right there. That is the formula to use. I think they're proving it.
I literally thought he was going to say that the Cowboys or the Jets should go after Kyle Shanahan. I had no idea where he was going.
I could see that.
And I don't know where he went. But go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, well, the Niners would be foolish to let go of Shanahan. And by the way, I think it's actually 2 Super Bowls they've been to in 5 years. They played the Chiefs back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a game that they had a 10-point lead with about 8 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. So they've been excruciatingly close to being a 2 Super Bowl champion franchise in Shanahan era. But Jason, there's one more reality that I did not bring up. This is the end of the Brock Purdy rookie contract. So now the question becomes, as he hits his 2nd deal, are we going $55, $60 million for that guy? Because now it completely throws your cap space and your roster into flux. And do you make the Dak Prescott mistake that Dallas made? Some big decisions coming up there for John Lynch.
No different than the decisions we have to make here at Fearless. Shamika is in a contract holdout situation. She's refusing to work this morning based on the contract demands. And so we will not hear from the chat. You guys hop in the chat and tell me, because hopefully she'll come back to work tomorrow.
Really?
And you guys tell me in the chat, do we owe Shamika? She wants an enormous raise. She's demanding twice her salary to come back on the show.
She's negotiating.
Well, you know what I heard?
She's negotiating in public. I mean,
I heard my sources tell me she got Drew Rosenhaus and she's doing sit-ups on her driveway right now. Wow. Big. Show her the money.
I think she's planning that if Stephen A goes solo, she's going to be a part of Stephen A's show.
Her and Molly, that might be a nice thing.
Yeah. Yeah, let me you're trying to get me in trouble. We'll play tomorrow, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Waiting for the countdown, coming off the breakdown, standing in line for freedom. Looking for a breakout, feeling like a standoff, nothing in life like freedom. Came in like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on the corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, all deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be. I wanna be.